The Tonight Show once faced a moment so disastrous that Johnny Carson nearly walked away forever. For 3 decades, Carson ruled late-night TV with unmatched composure and steady control. Across more than 4,500 broadcasts and over 22,000 visitors, his calm professionalism became the hallmark audiences trusted. No slip-up, no bad joke, no temperamental star ever rattled him, except one fateful night. In 1975, a celebrated American author stepped onto Carson's stage in a state so alarming it derailed the entire evening. That guest's behavior rattled Johnny so deeply that some insiders say it almost ended his television career. According to one NBC executive, "I never saw Carson more shaken before or after that night." This wasn't about a single awkward segment. It shook Carson's belief in his own control, in NBC's backing, and even in whether he belonged on TV. It was the closest he ever came to walking off for good. We're uncovering the untold story of the interview Carson demanded erased, the night Truman Capote's drunken meltdown drove America's calmest host to the edge. But to grasp why this particular disaster cut so deep, we first need to see why Carson viewed it as his ultimate live TV nightmare. So let's revisit how it unfolded. By the mid-1970s, Truman Capote was one of the nation's most famous writers. His groundbreaking In Cold Blood transformed journalism, while earlier works like Breakfast at Tiffany's cemented him in pop culture. Beyond his books, Capote's flamboyant style made him a fixture of celebrity circles. He was a frequent presence on talk shows, known for gossip and wit that usually kept audiences enthralled. On Carson's stage, he had always delivered clever remarks mixed with sharp literary insight. The host himself valued Capote highly, said one Tonight Show producer, because Truman elevated the program while still being entertaining. All their previous meetings had gone smoothly, but the night everything fell apart began the moment Capote stumbled into NBC's studio. Years of alcohol and drug use had left him visibly impaired, slurring, staggering, and clearly unstable. He could hardly make it to the green room, recalled a staffer. His companion, possibly a lawyer, was practically dragging him upright. Production staff warned he shouldn't go on stage, but no one dared cancel a segment with a star of his stature. Carson, who avoided mingling with guests before airtime, was told only that Capote was a bit tired. When the writer shuffled onto the set, Carson's stunned reaction said it all. A cameraman remembered watching him silently weigh, shut this down, or try to rescue it. Because much of the show was live, Carson had little choice. What followed was a half-hour of painful television. Capote rambled in broken phrases, unable to finish thoughts or stay on track. Carson tried steering him toward his books, but answers dissolved into incoherence. At moments, Capote seemed completely lost. From backstage, one writer recalled Johnny juggling desperately to keep the exchange afloat. He finished Truman's sentences, redirected dangerous tangents, and asked the simplest questions he could. It was like watching an expert trying to juggle shards of glass. The lowest point came when Capote began naming celebrities and describing scandalous claims. Johnny knew instantly the legal risk was enormous and tried to change topics. But Capote pressed forward with more gossip. Finally, Carson cut to commercial, then dropped his on-air smile the second camera stopped. He looked at his producer and snapped, "Take him off the stage immediately." This wasn't advice, it was a command. The way he said it was unlike anything I had ever heard from him. During the break, Carson stepped away from the set, something almost unheard of during an ongoing interview. Witnesses said he walked straight into his office and locked the door. When the cameras came back, Ed McMahon told the audience that Capote was unwell and the show would move forward. Afterwards, Carson was still seething. Crew members recalled him muttering, "Why do I bother doing this anymore?" One writer later shared, "This wasn't an act, he was genuinely shaken." It wasn't simply a poor segment, It showed him how powerless he felt when things unraveled. He confided, "If this is what it's like now, maybe I'm finished." While his rage was obvious, few understood how much it rattled his faith in The Tonight Show itself. In an unusually candid mood, Carson told close staff that the Capote mess revealed deeper cracks in the program's setup. He admitted afterwards that the fiasco made him doubt our entire screening system, said a veteran producer. His words were, "If this can't be avoided, then all our planning means nothing." For the first time, he wondered if the show was worth continuing. His frustration didn't stop with the interview. It extended to NBC leadership. The very next day, he confronted executives, demanding tighter oversight on guests and hinting he might quit if changes weren't made. An NBC insider recalled that the meeting grew extremely tense. Carson wasn't one to bluff or posture. He never had to. His influence was so massive that even the suggestion of leaving sent shockwaves through the network. Executives immediately vowed that nothing like the Capote debacle would be repeated. The fallout from that night changed the show almost instantly. NBC agreed to toughen guest screening and gave Carson's staff the final say on cancellations. From then on, segments weren't forced through just to fill airtime. For Capote, however, that night effectively ended his ties with The Tonight Show. Though not formally blacklisted, he was quietly excluded from future lineups. Carson, who forgave nervous or unprepared guests, treated Capote differently. He saw the stunt as a violation of basic respect. As one talent coordinator recalled, Carson separated amateurs from those who disrespected the platform. Appearing drunk wasn't just sloppy, it was Capote's way of saying The Tonight Show didn't matter. That was something Johnny couldn't overlook. Perhaps the clearest sign of how deep it cut was Carson's unprecedented demand about the tapes. In an era before widespread home recording, archives were almost entirely in NBC's hands. Sources confirm Carson ordered the Capote interview removed from every reel and banned from retrospectives. A former archivist said flatly, he wanted that night erased. Normally, episodes were carefully stored, but this one was wiped away. Carson almost never used his clout that way. He usually laughed at bloopers or bad moments, but this incident touched a nerve. He believed the damage went beyond Capote. It stained the show's reputation. For years, Carson would still bring it up privately as the ultimate example of an unacceptable guest. Whenever tricky celebrities were proposed, he'd ask, "Is this going to be another Capote mess?" That single line was enough to halt plans. What made the whole thing so striking was how it captured two careers moving in opposite directions. Carson stood at the height of his power, shaping American culture nightly. Capote, on the other hand, was entering a decline that soon defined his later years. After excerpts from his novel Answered Prayers cost him his society ties, his downward slide accelerated. As one critic put it, that Tonight Show disaster marked Capote's fall from mainstream grace. Before then, his excesses were dismissed as quirks. Afterward, the perception shifted. He was unstable, unreliable, and dangerous on live TV. For Carson, though, the ordeal became a turning point that sharpened his grip on the show. Instead of quitting, he secured full authority over bookings and scheduling. The Capote debacle, which nearly pushed him out, instead gave him leverage to safeguard his reign for 15 more years. Ironically, while he destroyed the official tapes, whispers claim a copy still survives. Former staffers say they've seen it, describing it as worse than anyone imagined. But no verified version has surfaced, proving how determined Carson was to bury the one night that almost drove him from television. That near-disastrous interview revealed a hidden Carson the public seldom saw, a fiercely protective host who prized order and professionalism above all else. Beneath his friendly image was a perfectionist who knew his success depended on keeping control, even if it meant making painful choices.